Great to have you with us today on City Life. It seems that I'm standing here in a pair of gumboots in a big puddle of snow. We love the snow, but it just means that our guests can't quite get to the studio. So we've put together an extra special version of City Life for you today. First up, here's our Mayor Bob Parker talking about the draft Central City Plan.
So firstly, can you just sum up for me, for maybe those people who don't understand, what the city plan actually is?
Well, the city plan is really a set of rules and regulations that control inside the four avenues of Christchurch how the built environment will look, how the green environment will look, what public spaces are going to be like, and the rules to really make all of that happen in a controlled way. So it's a kind of collective community view on how we want our city to look.
So tell me what the government outlined when giving the council the responsibilities for the plan.
Government basically said, look, you've got 9 months to create a new plan and a new vision for Christchurch City. As we know now, 50% of the buildings inside the central business area have been destroyed and will be demolished, and probably a few more. And the nature of the way we perceive our city has completely changed, and we're into a mode where we have to recover and we have to have a future, and we need to know what we should do. And the government gave the Christchurch City Council the job of being the lead agency in developing that plan with our community. They gave us 9 months to do it. So fundamentally what we've got to do is to give Minister Brownlee the finished plan at Christmas time for a bit of holiday reading.
Tell me, what will happen in the 9 months before you present the final plan to the Minister?
Well, the 9 months has already ticked away quite a lot, so we're now looking at about another 4 months' work in front of us. So the plan is the basis of a discussion with the community, because this isn't the finished plan. This is where we've got to as a result of all of those submissions and ideas that came in initially with Share an Idea. So our community will want to have feedback. They want to tell us what they like, what they don't like. The business community will say we want more height or less height or whatever it is. All of those ideas need to be listened to and heard by council. We have formal hearings that will last for quite some days, in which people can come and tell us directly as a council what they think, or they can write in. And then we have to take that information away, digest it, shape it, and determine which suggestions and which critiques are the ones that will shape the final plan, finish that work and hand it to Minister Brownlee by the end of the year. Now, this process from beginning to end would normally take around about 3 years. So we're having to do it in 9 months, and the reason we have to do it in 9 months is we need certainty, and if we need to keep businesses, and we do, we need to keep people engaged in our city, we've got to have a plan and we've got to get on with it, and that's what we're doing.
And how has previous public engagement really helped?
Well, it's been absolutely inspirational, and I heard it described that way by a number of international people who are involved in this sort of planning. Never seen a response like it anywhere in the world before. 106,000 ideas. Everyone was read. Everyone was then entered into a database in the appropriate category. And then we used all of those ideas and looked for the common themes among them to shape the plan. So this plan, in my personal view, actually really reflects the majority of views that we collected through Share an Idea. So it's inspirational and it's foundational for this document.
And what sort of public engagement will occur from now on?
Well, people can determine their own engagement. We'll have a number of public meetings around the city where people are welcome to come. There'll be some public lectures with some inspirational speakers from around the world. They don't have to agree with us. We're just bringing them in as part of the discussion to have their input, to help people have ideas. They may have a critique that could be shaped by another opinion. That's important. We want a really constructive process. We don't want people to be destructive, because we've had way too much destruction in our community, both of the physical and I think the mental kind as well. It's been a hard time. This is an opportunity for us to work together, and people can have that opportunity by attending those meetings or going online or writing to us or interacting in a number of ways that might work for them.
How is Sarah involved?
Sarah's been involved from the word go, so has Naitahu, and so has Environment Canterbury. Sarah has the task of putting the recovery plan together for the other part of Christchurch outside of the central city area. And just like in the central city, and the outer suburban areas, we're working hand in hand. Sarah couldn't do their work without the people from the City Council, the staff and the experts that we have working cooperatively alongside them. And equally, we've shown our plan to Sarah. The staff at Sarah gave it an ovation when we explained to them the plan and what we were putting in front of the people. So, I think the relationship is very solid and very important.
Can you elaborate a bit more on Ngāi Tahu and ECAN?
Yep, Ngāi Tahu is a partner, both in the legislation of New Zealand and in all of the documents in our city. And Ngāi Tahu have played a particularly important role with us. One of the opportunities in the Central City Plan is to more, I think, in a balanced way, reflect the real heritage of Christchurch. It didn't just start, say, in 1850 with the European settlement. Along the banks of the Avon, for hundreds of years prior to that time, was a very important hunter, gathering and living area for Maori people as well. And so we've engaged with Ngāi Tahu around specific projects, particularly the extending of the green swathe now, this beautiful serpentine green wriggle of the Avon River running through the middle of Christchurch is going to be a river park with much broader sides. And there are opportunities in that to reflect the previous Maori settlements, also to reflect some of the character of Christchurch in those pre-European times, alongside the European influence. So Ngāi Tahu's a partner, just like in our council building. They're partners with us there, they're partners in the plan. And ECAN, well, there's practical stuff like cleaning up the river, which is a big part of this plan. We want to make the river Avon clean enough for you to have a swim in and not worry about it. And we want the water to be pure. We see it as one of the signs of a healthy city, as a very healthy river. So that's around wastewater catchments and stormwater catchments and all of that practical stuff. And by greening the city, we're improving the flow of rainwater, for example, into the ground and lessening the runoff and cleaning the runoff. So ECAN are partners for us in the issue of, I guess, air, quality of water and those sorts of things.
Can you just tell me a bit about the top 10 projects?
Well, everyone will have their own favourites, right? But there is the Avon River Park, which I think is an incredibly exciting project that our community said really clearly, do something with the Avon, make it better. So we're taking much of the traffic out. Those busy streets are going to be greenways, cycleways, walkways, opening the river up along a much longer length to the use by our people. A compact central business district, reducing that commercial area really at the request of a lot of the business organisations, making it more exciting, making more happen in there, making it a little denser, light rail as an option for transport. I'd love the university to come into the central city, seeing as they can't come in. Let's hardwire them into the city. So we're saying let's build a modern tramway out to the University of Canterbury and get the students back living in the city, for example, and connect it in with new educational institutions. And at the same time get a light rail plan that'll connect Rolleston and Littleton, Rangiora, Kaiapoi, Belfast and other areas of the city in a long-term plan via rail. It's sustainable and it makes real sense. A metro sports opportunity in the city. We'll build a sports hub in the centre of Christchurch, another reason to come into the central city area. Expansion of the hospital, opportunities around medical research and medical education, working with the CDHB, working with the Otago Medical School around that. Greening Cathedral Square, getting rid of all of that reflective white material, truly making it the heart of a garden city, or the city in a garden. And then the streets, greening up the streets, eco streets, and some big projects like a new central city library. And we could combine that with other facilities as well and maybe look at a design competition to create something really innovative there. A new convention centre, and then I think one of the really exciting things, literally dozens of additional new parks sprinkled throughout the inside of the 4 avenues, a new greenway connecting parks. So inside that outer road, a green connecting route right around the city, slowing the central city area down. In fact, I could go on. I think I've mentioned a lot more than 10, but I think this plan is full of wonderful visions and a lot of very exciting projects.
I think public transport is something that people are going to really be
It is.
excited about. Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
Oh yeah, I didn't mention cycleways, and you know, one of the things that we are doing is adding in cycleways, safe, separate cycleways. Cycling has a great future in our city. It had a great past, and it's time to step into the 21st century and make it a pleasant experience. And that can supplement a revitalised public transport system. Buses are going to be very important for you know, forever probably, certainly for many, many decades to come. I've touched on the idea of let's try our first piece of tram train, light rail, connecting the university via Riccarton Ave past the hospital into the CPIT, look at extending that to the airport and out to the coast, look at how we then work those sorts of systems with our buses. And by slowing the centre of the city down a little bit, also making people think about the alternatives that they have in terms of public transport. A new transport hub to be built in the central city area is a vital part of that.
And can you just elaborate a little bit more on the CBD?
Well, one of the big innovations of the new central city plan, at least the one we are suggesting that people consider, is bringing height down. The public told us very clearly they didn't want a high-rise city. So what I'm seeing in the city, we're going to see, I think in 20 years' time, 10 to 20 years' time, a lot of people choosing to live here. Great public spaces, you know, broad sidewalks, people cycling through the city into their suburban homes, but coming in because they want to be here for great public events. Some new buildings, a convention centre that will also double as a place which we can have great concerts and other events. A restored town hall, perhaps a great recreational park that they want to be part of. But that low-rise city means that instead of having the odd high-rise and then a gap with a small building, it's a much more complete-looking city. And literally thousands of people choosing to call it their home, not just the centre of their city, but their home. And trees everywhere, trees flowing from Hagley Park, down new avenues, right across the city. And those neighbourhood parks and the pocket parks in the central city blocks being popular places with young people, some of whom will be studying at new schools in the heart of Christchurch, a blossoming commercial area. And I think that we'll see the universities represented here. And this will be a hub for not only education in New Zealand and especially in the South Island, but for innovation as well. The epic that electronics cluster and the software cluster would have blossomed into a major part of the inner city fabric of Christchurch. Wi-Fi, free, we're very, very connected, and we're very, very green. Walls of buildings covered in plants, green roofs, a city that just celebrates just being. And tourists drawn here because this is the kind of place that you would come to live if you could, and you want to see how this remarkable city and this great province of ours came back from one of the greatest tragedies ever to strike any city anywhere in the world.
You're back with City Life, and I'd like to welcome Professor Neville Slade from Victor Valley College in California. All the way from California.
California, yes.
So what brings you to Christchurch?
Well, we were travelling. I got the opportunity to come and give a presentation at the World Environmental Education Congress in Brisbane a couple of weeks ago, 10 days ago. And then we've come to visit family and just get a little bit of a feel for what's going on with sustainability in other parts of the world. And had family here in Christchurch that were very much affected by the earthquake and wanted to come down and see what was going down on this part of the world.
Okay, so what is the history of sustainable development?
Basically, it comes out of the environmental movement, but it's different. And it's in the 60s and 70s, had a lot of concern about pollution and wastage of natural resources. And so a number of people started to activate, people like Rachel Carson, and we got a lot of policy coming to play in first world countries. So things like Clean Air Acts, Clean Water Acts, and agencies, like in the United States, the Environmental Protection Agency. And from there, it's basically evolved on to the United Nations picked up the banner. And really, I think the rest of the world just basically said, you know, you guys in the first world can't be harping on us on environmental issues when we can't feed our children. So we're going to have to cut down a rainforest once in a while, and you need to make sure that there's more equity and more concern about our standard of living and our society in this discussion.
Okay. So what's your idea of a sustainable environment, I suppose, city?
Yeah, a sustainable city, a sustainable world, it depends on the context, but basically the concept is that let's not focus in on one particular criteria or other. And basically we talk about three criteria. We talk about the social, so having a healthy social structure where people are safe and your political system works well. A healthy economy is absolutely essential, a viable economy, and employment, obviously, that comes out of the economy. And then, of course, a healthy environment. We all know that our natural ecology, our ecosystems are under strain. We all have that feeling. But sustainable development says, you know what, we can balance those three things. So we can balance the economic with the environment, with the social. And it's really quite interesting because the third world, developing countries have done this. They are forced to do this because that's the only way. If they've got a natural resource like one of the ones we look at in Costa Rica is a turtle reserve. If the turtles are their resource and the turtle's in trouble, they have to balance these three things. In the first world, we sometimes have to be pushed into it. And, you know, we don't necessarily take it up automatically because we're so focused on economically driven, you know, what's the fourth quarter profit sort of model, which is very consumer driven and very waste heavy, lots of waste.
Okay, so you say there are three elements to
Yes.
it. Does this differ from other people's perspective of a sustainable city?
Yeah.
Hard to say.
It's a hard one to say, yeah. We wish we could come up with another word, and there is another word. Another word is green, and
Right.
you know, it's green development. And yes, I think it does. It's very much according to the thinking on sustainable development. No, this doesn't differ. This is the basic principles. What has happened is it's been sort of subverted, and people have used green for their own uses. So definitely, and very, not with any real ulterior motive, but it's just sort of happened. So environmental people have used, people with ecological concerns, which are very valid, have used green to push a certain social environmental need, or they might push it for a certain social need. We're just saying that green development, sustainable development, really is a balancing of all three of these things. And sustainable development, if you imagine three spheres, sustainable development is that core in the middle when you get the balance.
Okay.
And we believe that in first world countries like New Zealand, that's totally possible. It just takes some planning and what we call a sustainability ethic, where everybody's striving to find this balance and respects that each people that are a little bit more polarized in any one of these spheres can be brought to the center. Maybe there's some trade-offs. Maybe you don't get everything you want, but you can come up with sustainable development, which really is about the future of the kids. The actual definition of sustainable development that the United Nations came up with, Brundtland, is meeting our present needs while making sure that we meet the needs of the future of our children.
Okay.
And so if everybody, I believe, everybody just come together around the future of the children and say, you know, we don't think that we have a really good future for our children, we're worried about our own future, then we all have a common purpose, and then we can balance these different needs and come up with some solutions that vary with the context, but are the way to go. And a lot of people think that way.
Why is it so important to think of tomorrow's children?
Well,
I know that sounds mean, but...
Well, I just think we're wired that way. I think that, you know, if you've had children, that's what one of our purposes is I think we're put here to take things and rebuild and recreate with what we're given. And I'm not sure that I'm speaking for everyone, but I believe most people are concerned about the future of our children. And at least at that level, they're going to want to take responsibility, do what they can to ensure that they have a future. I'm sure nobody wants to think of a future where children don't have opportunity, don't have hope. So, you know, as a father, you know, if you've ever had your own children, it's kind of almost a silly question. I mean, but I'm sure that I believe everybody understands that we can't just live just for ourselves. We must leave something for all the world's children, almost 7 billion of them.
All right. Now, the three elements,
Yes.
social, economic and environmental, how important is it for the three of these to come together for a sustainable city?
It's really important, and I guess I'll just rephrase that a little bit. I mean, it's kind of the question of where do you start? And where I think it starts starts in the social sphere. I think we have a really good idea of what a good economy looks like and how to make that happen, and the businessmen and corporations know how to do that. I think we have a pretty good idea of what's wrong with the environment. I'm not negative on the environment. I don't think we're all going to fry up tomorrow. I think our technology and our thinking and our science, we just needs to be put more into action. But it's the social side that we lack in. So what we've seen in other parts of the world is it's social action groups. They're very diverse. And at this point, we even think it's kind of like a social revolution. They think that there may be 30,000 of these social action groups in the United States working on various aspects of sustainability. Okay. It might be a social issue, equity with a certain ethnic group. It might be restoring a stream bed. But these social action groups come together and they have a cause, they have a need, and they organize in an infrastructure that actually works and respects others and cares for others, and in particular, if you have a purpose of caring for the future generations, it's these social action groups that are normally very flat in terms of their leadership, no iconic leaders, very connected on the internet. That one of the drivers in all of this is the social media and the internet. I can have a certain cause and I can talk to people all over the world and share my message basically from my sitting room. Okay. So it's about really getting the social thing straight. And in a place like New Zealand, I think you've got so much potential because you had a very well-defined social structure, political system. I'm sure everybody doesn't think it works that great. Nobody ever does. But it's there. And you have a democracy. And so within that, now let's let these social action groups, these sustainability action groups come forward and start moving forward with their ideas and basically having a framework where those certain needs are met. But then if we've got a lot of these working all in concert and a structure, a sustainability ethic that knows we need to balance all these needs, I think it can work.
Okay. And so finally, that's how you think it will work in Christchurch with all these groups coming together?
I think you have an amazing opportunity. I mean, I want to make really clear, you know, my family was very much affected by what happened during Christchurch, and I've seen some of the devastation, to people's lives, and I know, my condolences to people's lives that have been so badly affected. But yes, and the other side of the coin, it is an opportunity. You've kind of shaken up the bag, and so there's opportunity to put things back together in a different way. And so potentially if maybe the economic side was too strong, too powerful, or maybe certain government entities weren't cooperating and working as well as they could in putting in certain policies, those can be realigned and reworked so that there's an atmosphere where people can be very creative. I think this is the key. We want to feel like you can take responsibility, and if you do something, you can actually make change. And that's this climate of entrepreneurship and creativity, and you know, with the internet, with social media, and with a place like this where there's so much need, I think you'll see some very interesting leadership come up from some of these groups. So I think it's a very exciting time. I'm not predict that that's going to happen, but knowing New Zealanders and tough as they are and how they can beat the Springbok rugby team from where I'm from, they must be able to at least put this back together.
Yeah, that's right. Neville, thank you so much for coming on the program. Enjoy your time in Christchurch.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Kennedy Graham, good to have you here on City Life.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Now, your latest report is because of those forums that you held here in Christchurch. Let's first of all talk about those forums that you were holding.
Yes, well, what I wanted to do was to marry expertise that's in the city in the form of landscape architects and architects and engineers, wastewater management people and iwi leaders and so on, and engage the public with them. And so I held a series of 4 meetings in Central City and New Brighton and Littleton, and then back in the city. And the last one back in the city, I was presenting my draft ideas, reflecting the 3 meetings, with a panel of ex-mayors, Gary Moore, Vicky Buck, John Peet from Sustainability Council and so on. And then I wrote it up with 26 recommendations, which is now going to go into the system and hopefully help contribute to a better Christchurch.
All right, yeah, it's called The Future of Christchurch, Report for a 21st Century Eco-City. Now tell me what's in this.
First off, I'm offering a few procedural recommendations. We should declare, the Parliament should declare the Christchurch earthquake region, Greater Christchurch, to be an issue of national significance. That will give it a greater status. Beyond civil defence emergency, which goes from February to April 10, I think, then that's it, and we're back to business as usual. And we need to continue for the next few years to regard Christchurch as an issue of national significance. That will have ramifications for funding, for political attention, for expertise from around the country and so on. We need the heightened public-private sector coordination. We need heightened cross-party parliamentary cooperation with more restraint, less partisanship, and so on. Those are the procedural. But the substance of the report is the vision of a future Christchurch, and that's most of the recommendations. And in a sense, there are 4 themes I propose: resilience and sustainability and harmony, both environmental and social, and beauty, architectural beauty. And the recommendations apply to those.
Okay. How do you think we're going to get there?
I think we'll get there. I think it's going to be a long haul. It's painful already. This is the hard. We're in the winter of our discontent. This is the hardest time. Post June 30, and it's cold, and people are suffering. There's no doubt. But we're stoic. We're resilient, and we will prove to be sustainable. We'll get there. It'll take years. But I foresee. I mean, I'm looking at that photograph now of Christchurch and how beautiful it was. I foresee recapturing that beauty, but along sustainable lines, reflecting 21st century values and technology. Sustainability is what it's all about, and it's mainly about green spaces, Green Star rating in our homes and our buildings, solar, wastewater management better than it has been in the past. These are the ideas from the experts that have come through, but they have resonated with the people. There's no question about that. And I'm wanting to collaborate with the City Council and with Sarah and others in this respect.
Okay. Now, you presented the report on Friday. How was it received?
I think it's received, well, it's very, very new, and there hasn't been a proper response yet. I've had a lot of radio interviews and TV, but from the officials, first off, I sent it under letter to Jerry Brownlee, Minister for Earthquake Recovery. I'm trying to work collaboratively with him and with Roger Sutton, the senior official, chief executive of Sarah, and I'm having met with the City Council officials through the preparation of the report. I want to hand it over to them because, as you know, the City Council is the one that's developing the city plan within 9 months. It's coming out quite soon, and that's the period of consultation, and I want my report to be part of that consultation process.
Okay. So your vision, it's a vision for Christchurch.
Yeah.
Why do you want it to be eco-friendly?
We've got an opportunity. A crisis is an opportunity. It's so hard to refashion a city that's in full flight, Wellington, Auckland, you name it. We've been broken, but we're not out, and we will recover. It's an extraordinary opportunity. If you look around the world, there's probably 4 or 5 or 6 cities that have been consciously fashioned to be eco-cities in the strangest places, as it happens. And we are naturally an environmental people if we just apply ourselves to it. But there's aspects of our lifestyle that we need to improve and curtail an excess ecological footprint, and the lifestyle and the housing situation. We can develop more cooperative housing, more sustainable with more solar. And as I say, above all, green spaces, not just out there in the countryside, but inside the city. And this whole notion of greening the red zone comes through very strongly in my report.
Okay. What about the funding for the report and the funding for the eco-city?
Well, the Green Party has for some time advocated a nationwide levy, earthquake levy, and the government hasn't adopted it yet. They say that it would constrain economic growth, which we tend to differ. We think it would be a fair and equitable approach to funding. The figures are massive. $10 to $20 billion rebuild, $5 billion official money through Terra, and so on. As you know, the council has already increased a particular levy and the rates, but so that the next generation doesn't carry the burden of this. Well, if it's good enough for the city to do that, it's good enough for the nation to do it. Rather than dumping, as the current situation is with the government policy, we'll be deferring the cost, primarily the cost of Christchurch, onto future generations throughout the nation. An earthquake levy, which doesn't break the bank of individual households, 50 cents a week for lower income, $2.50 a week for senior higher income, is not going to break the bank, but it would stop our children saying that we dumped it on them.
All right.
So, we'll get there.
Now, this report has come out of forums, the four forums.
Correct.
Are you thinking about holding some more of these?
Yes, I may. This was the immediate response to February 22, and the forums were held between April and June, and it's taken me a month to produce a report. As I say, I'm giving it to the City Council now. They're coming out with their report. I think they're going to have a consultation period through September. I would like this to be very much a part of the consultation process and a dialogue with the City Council, and I would like to think that I can hold... It's a work in progress. It's not the last word on the subject, but I think it will give the green vision of a future Christchurch, and I know from not only my 4 forums, but from the Expo that Christchurch City Council held and other meetings, TEDx and others, the people are speaking, if they're speaking with one voice, they're speaking with one voice on one thing. They want the greening of the city. They want green spaces. They want a good lifestyle, want accessibility to cyclists and pedestrians and malls and so on. We want an easier lifestyle that's more harmonious, more pleasant, more sustainable.
Okay, I know you need to go and catch a plane to meet Roger Sutton.
That's correct.
Because you couldn't meet here on Friday.
Yes.
Now, what will you be saying when you present this to Roger?
Pretty much along those lines, that we in the Green Party want to collaborate with both Terra and the City Council in a constructive spirit, in a non-partisan spirit, and offer our views as to how it should be. We will be beckoning the future in this report and challenging the officials and the government and the Minister and the Prime Minister to be up to it. That's the message. Here's the green vision. Let's get there.
All right, Dr. Kennedy, Graham, thanks for coming on the programme.
Thank you very much.
Now here's the man who brought entertainment back to Christchurch after the earthquake. Ben McDonald, good to have you here.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Canterbury Celebration Theatre, I think, or was it actually before that, you started bringing entertainment back into the city. What was that like?
It was really, really great. We had a terrific month in Hagley Park. So we're all packed up now. It's all cleared away. There's only just a little patch of grass where we were. It's like a crop circle. But we had about 4,000 people through the door over that month for all sorts of shows. So it was a really nice project, and it was lovely because every night we'd have 2 shows. We'd have a 6 o'clock and an 8:30 show. So you've got the 2 camper vans out the back, sponsored by Kia Campers. So they were the dressing room. So one show would have one and one show the other, and you know there was a lot of pre-show parties and after-show parties. So it was really lovely. It was nice to mix with different people, and then the next night there'd be 2 different shows, so they'd mix and get to know each other, and you know, it was really fun.
You had lots of showgirls with massive headpieces.
Oh, we did, with Tim Beveridge's Vegas show. So they're actually on the road at the moment. So they started in the Celebration Theatre, and then we've whipped right around the South Island with them, and they've got a couple of weeks off before they do the whole North Island with that show.
Gosh.
So it's been a great time.
It was before July, though, that you started entertaining people in Christchurch. It was with
the importance of being earnest.
Oh yes, that was the first show that got to use the tent. That was David Shedd's production of The Importance of Being Earnest over at Riccarton Bush, which is the wonderful thing about the Celebration Theatre, because we can put it anywhere. We can put it on an empty car park, we can put it in Hagley Park, Riccarton Bush, and at the moment we're just in the process of getting a spot to put it up for October, November and December. So we're going to do a great big run of shows just leading up to Christmas again, which we'll announce very shortly. So keep your eye on our website. When we
keep an eye on City Life.
And on City Life as well.
The exclusive on City Life, I'm sure.
Excellent.
Now, everybody that we've had from Canterbury Celebration Theatre has said about the tent, and I've had to correct them, it's a heated marquee.
It's a heated marquee.
I can't believe you just said tent.
A tent. Well, it's a tent, I suppose.
It isn't. It's a heated marquee, and it's beautiful.
It is. It's been great inside.
Yeah.
It's just warm and cozy. It looks kind of small from the outside, but when you actually get in there, we can fit 160 people.
Yeah.
And the audience is, for people who missed out, the audience is all round on this sort of round rostra stuff. So they're all kind of like this over the stage, you know what I mean? Which is really nice.
Okay, so in July, tell me about some of the performances that you had, some of the highlights. Oh,
we had the Red Rose Dinner Theatre was a fun little show. That was the music hall, and you know, traditional Victorian music hall. Chairman, lots of silly songs, and you know, that was good fun. Tim's Vegas show was huge. I have to admit, when the first night when the horn section started rehearsing, we had a 6-piece band, 6 dancers, and Tim on that stage. And it was just phenomenal. The noise of the horns, we didn't mic them or anything. It was just real live, you know, orchestra, which was fantastic. We've had everything. The opera concerts were lovely little evenings. Julian Anderson organises those, and they're coming back for the season later in the year. So that had a lovely following of people. The kids' shows, I tell you who the show who did the best business was actually the Kiwi Flying Circus. They were
really?
Very talented people. Very, they could juggle without hitting the roof, which was nice, and they do lots of acrobatics and balancing, and they had a lot of sold out shows with a lot of happy kids, which was really nice. Yeah,
well, that's good. They were pleased to hear that.
They were, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so October, November, December.
October, November, December. There's a whole pile of shows that I'm all sort of twisting around at the moment. Any other people too that are looking for a venue to play, please email me. We've got some spots left. So any music group or choir or theatre group or anyone who wants to use it, it's there to be used. That's what it's for. So they can email me, benmcdonald@extra.co.nz, and I can send them all the information.
Awesome. This is good. So is it going to be called Canterbury Celebration Theatre again?
We're going to keep the name. We love it. Yep.
Good. And the marquee, you actually brought that over from the USA.
Yep, so I own it now. It's all stuffed in my shed at the present.
Congratulations.
So our 3-car garage has got chairs and lights and marquee and tent poles and everything. So we can't
I'm
park
sure
the
your
cars
family's
in the
very
garage
happy
at the
about
moment.
that.
They're over the moon.
Yeah, I'm sure. What else have you got going on at the moment? I'm sure October, November, December is going to be 3 very busy months.
3 very busy months. There's a show that we hope to bring, which is a burlesque show, which will be quite fun for Christmas, which should be quite fun. I can tell you there's a production of Hay Fever floating around, which is Noel Coward's 1920s, 30s. It's a comedy. It's a great play.
Now, was that the one we missed out on because of the earthquake?
No. The Court Theatre did it probably about 10 years ago now.
Okay, yeah. So that's probably the one I'm thinking of.
So that play's coming up. That's David Shedd's Scriptease Productions are doing that. There's a couple of other shows that are sort of in the pipeline at the moment. So once we get the venue confirmed, which hopefully will be early next week, and then we'll get all the shows locked in, and we'll put it all up on our website, and we'll start the campaign for advertising quite soon. Okay,
so we need to keep an eye on the website.
Yep.
Canterbury
celebrationtheatre.co.nz.
Okay, Ben, really good to have you on the program.
Thank you so much.
It's August. What do we do in the garden at this time of year, Peter?
Well, the most important thing, Jeff, at this stage is soil preparation. The better your soil, the better the results, and I can't emphasise that enough. Get some compost dug in. If you've got heavy soil, add a bit of gypsum, and after you've done your planting, that's the time to fertilise.
So if it's soil that's full of clay, you need the gypsum?
You need the gypsum, yes.
All right.
And we've got seed potatoes in stock now, and now's the time to get them sprouted, ready for planting. But one of the most important crops to get in now are strawberries, because strawberries from now on grow really fast. If you get them established early, you'll get plenty of fruit.
So we have them in front of us. So what do we need to grow good strawberries?
The most important thing for strawberries is rich soil. They're what's known as gross feeders, which means they need a lot of feeding because they produce a lot of flowers and fruit, so food is important. There is strawberry mix, which is designed to grow the strawberries in. You can either use it in the garden or you can use containers, and strawberries grow really successfully in containers because they must have good drainage and obviously plenty of sun.
So that's because they're quite a moist fruit, aren't they? So they do need a lot of nutrient.
Yes, they need a lot of nutrient and they produce so heavily.
Great. Now I believe there are different varieties of strawberries.
Yes, there are lots of varieties. The best ones for the South Island are what are known as the Californian strawberries. There's Sunset, there's Seascape, there's Diamante, there's a new one called El Santa, which is an early fruiting variety. The good thing about Californians is that they're what is known as daylight neutral, so they don't have to have particularly long or short daylight hours. That's not a factor for them. Also, they do not produce a lot of runners, which I know some people want runners for next year,
yes.
But if you grow a lot of runners, you don't get the fruit, so you're better to go for the fruit.
Right, so when you plant them, how long do they last for?
They last generally 2 years, but no longer than 2 years. A lot of people replace them after one, but no longer than 2. They start to run out of vigour. And if you want to stop insect pests, it's easier to replace them. It stops you getting any nematodes in the soil, it stops mites and those sorts of problems.
So they do take up quite a bit if you put them into runners, but for say a small local garden, what would be the best places to plant them?
Well, they grow really well in containers because you can move the container to a good sunny position, and the strawberry mix in a container will give you very good drainage, and although they like to be kept damp, they don't like wet feet. So containers are highly recommended. There's special strawberry planter bags. The troughs are very good. It's also easier to keep them covered from birds if they're in a container because you can just drape the bird netting over the container.
Right, and then what about care for them?
Generally they don't need much care. They're pretty much pest-free for the first year. The main thing is the feeding and the protection from birds. After they've produced their first crop, the flowers and the fruit, just take off the large green leaves at the top of the plant. That will let more sun onto the crown, which will stimulate the next flowering and fruiting.
Right, so can we have a wee look at the netting?
Sure. The netting is exactly like this, and it actually stretches out to 4 metres wide, so you can cover a big area. And in the spring we sell thin fiberglass hoops, so you can get the hoops across the strawberries and just drape the netting over. But it's very important to watch the edges because the birds have a very clever way of getting straight in under the netting if you haven't got it pegged down.
So pegging or running some soil, what would you recommend?
Oh, I'd probably peg them down because it's easier to get the netting off when you want to pick them. Don't put the netting too close to the strawberries themselves because the birds get very cunning at learning to peck through the netting. So give yourself a bit of space.
Stand them a little bit higher.
Yes,
surely.
Exactly.
And then, Pete, when it comes to planting, let's have a look at a couple of the containers. So, is there a reason why they have lips on them?
No, the only reason that they have those pockets is so that you can plant into the sides easily and water easily.
Right. So, and this is a typical small patio variety.
Yes, yes, that would be just for a small area.
And then, what if we needed a little bit more? Would we use something like this particular trough?
Yes, I would go for a trough, and it's good and deep because they do need room for their roots.
Right.
The great thing about troughs is that they trail over the edge, and if the trough is raised up, it's much harder for the birds to get at them.
Right, and it gives it reasonable drainage.
And it gives it good drainage, and it's got a saucer to just hold enough moisture to keep them going.
Thanks, Pete. So if you want a succulent dessert, come down to Terra Viva on the corner of Wairaki and Roydevale Avenue.
Welcome back. Now, these are the pants that got Georgia to the finals of a major design competition, right?
Yes.
Have a seat.
Beautiful pants.
Thank you.
Now, for me, they are ABBA inspired, but they're not really, are they?
No. Basically, they come from a collection called Wonder Axis, which kind of came about from, firstly, my work experience at the start of the year in Sydney with a designer called Terra. And basically, from that, she wrote my brief for the collection, and then I found inspiration from a Chinese artist called Sai Gojiang. And basically, he works with gunpowder and a lot of explosions, and it's about capturing these moments of wonder, I guess, in an atmosphere. So then I kind of looked into landscapes and got my colour palette from that. So the whole collection is this sort of colour with tans, and then I have a bright, bright orange as well.
Really?
Yeah.
So you sent up 3 designs.
Yeah.
First of all, I should ask you about the competition.
Yes.
Tell me about the competition.
Okay, so basically the competition is all around New Zealand. You have to have studied in a tertiary sort of course in New Zealand, and you can be up to 4 years out of that course. So basically you send in three looks, and then they have 3 industry judges who come along, and then from that group they pick 10 finalists. And then those 10 finalists, it goes out to a public vote on Facebook. So it's very nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And then people vote, and then they count all the votes, and then top 3 get to show at Fashion Week, show their collections at Fashion Week.
Okay.
It's amazing.
So you're top 10, is that right?
Yes, okay. Top 10 at the moment, yeah.
All right, so it's still out on Facebook?
Yes, and the votes close on the 14th, and then it's announced on the 16th of this month.
So you'll be getting friends and friends of friends to like
I'm up to
you.
like 3 a.m. every morning.
Really?
Vote for me, vote for me.
You did well to get here this morning.
Yes, I know.
Now, you've studied at CPIT.
Yeah.
Are you still at CPIT?
Yes, I'm in my final year, so my 3rd year.
So tell me about the course there.
So it's very industry based, so you learn pattern making, sewing, tailoring, all of the technical side of it, and then in your final year you design 2 collections, one that gets shown at debut, which is in the middle of the year, and then one at pitch, which is at the end of the year.
Okay. Yeah. Now you're a student, you're in your final year, and you're competing against people who are out of courses, tertiary education courses, for up to 4 years.
Yes.
This is pretty nerve-wracking stuff.
It's so nerve-wracking.
Do you know anybody else you're up against? Some of the designs?
I don't know any of them, but I don't know them personally, but I can see all of their designs and who's got them through and things.
Okay.
So.
Let's talk about the other 2 designs, because you've got these pants.
Yeah.
Tell me about the other 2 pieces, garments that you
so I had one full-length sleeve wool jacket, which kind of came down to knee length, and it had all these different panel lines in it, and they were sort of enhanced with bright orange piping, and then everything has like gold buttons, and they went with these silk sheer flared pants, which have these shorts that go over the top, so they're tight and then they float out. And then the other outfit was a bright orange silk vest that had these sort of pleats that came up like this, and they had gold buttons, and then these leather shorts that had flares inserted on the outside, and then a nude sort of silk tank that kind of hung down.
Cool.
Yeah, so the textures are all different.
So would you wear those other 2 pieces yourself?
Yes. This is the first time I've worn these. I wore them today to show you, but I'm trying to keep everything really safe in case I get to Fashion Week and then it's on show. And secret. Yes.
So do you have just one of each garment?
Yes.
All right, yeah.
So they're
Fashion
one-offs. Yes, Fashion Week.
So when's the top 10 happening? The 16th of August, you said?
Yes, is the announcement.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I think the show at Fashion Week, when we show, is on the 1st of September, so it's the very last day of the Fashion Week.
All right. Now, you're Christchurch's only designer at this competition.
Yes.
So we really need to go to Facebook.
Yes, everyone needs to vote now.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Okay, so when you log into your Facebook, you can type up the top in the little sort of URL, the search thing, Westpac Young Designer. Okay. And then it will come up to the main Westpac page, and then you can click on contestants, and then Wonder Axis Georgia Currie comes up, and it's just one girl in the wool coat and the flared nude pants, and you click on that, and then there's a big green button that says vote, and you hit on that, and you can vote once every 24 hours.
Okay. And you can vote for yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Of course, why wouldn't you? So what would it be like to get to Fashion Week?
I'd be so happy. It would be the best opportunity I could ask for. It would take 5 years out of my long-term goals. You know, if you get to Fashion Week, not only do you get to meet great contacts, but you get, if you win that, then the judges pick an overall winner, and you get $5,000 in a startup business account and mentoring from a fashion person in the industry for a year, and it's just too much.
Exciting.
Too much.
Now, you must be one of the youngest designers as well.
They don't have the ages up there,
Right.
but because I'm still at school, I guess that probably makes me probably one of the younger ones. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
I'm definitely going to go and vote for you.
Yes.
Westpac
Young Designer, Georgia Currie, Wonder Access.
All right.
Yes.
Good luck. Let us know how you get on.
Thank you.
Well, that's City Life for today. We hope to be back with you tomorrow with our normal programming. You can get in touch with us, connetta@ctv.co.nz. You can call us 3777 033, or you can write to us, PO Box 1100 Christchurch. We hope to see you tomorrow.